Hello, beautiful people. If you're new, welcome. And if you're returning, thanks for coming back. So I have decided to launch another series and I am super excited about it because I get to share with you all the number of life lessons that I have learned in my 30-something years on this beautiful planet. I decided to launch this series in honor of my birthday, which is approaching, because I wanted to share with as many people as possible the number of lessons that I've learned through life so that they can avoid the school of hard knocks. Because my personal opinion, it is just not the jam. It's not the business. The first lesson that I want to share is, where is the lie? This is something that took me a while to really put into words and to figure out, but let me explain. So as we go through life and we experience different things, and sometimes those experiences don't necessarily match or meet our expectation, we can tend to become a little bit more pessimistic or cynical. And part of that is because of our experiences. Part of it is just because of the world, right? This is totally normal and natural for every human being. However, when you're a person that is looking to achieve greatness, or a person that is looking to, go create their dream life, a person that wants to accomplish goals and do great things, as we go on that journey, it becomes a little bit more difficult. And I think it becomes a little bit more challenging because of our previous experiences and the story that we tell ourselves. And sometimes that story gets us trapped in a rut. Not only do we have to deal with our internal dialogue and overcoming our own limiting beliefs, but often when we are building our dreams and trying to accomplish our goals, we also have to do with external influences. And that's also very challenging and difficult. And especially when it comes from people that we know, like, trust, and love, because those people actually have our best interests at heart. Well, a lot of times they have our best interests at heart. However, it's being filtered through their experiences in life, and whether things turned out well or whether things turned out not so great, it's a whole thing. So since we have our own thoughts, we have the viewpoints and thoughts of other people, and there's a lot that goes on. And mentally, I think what ends up happening is, like I said, we get trapped in a rut, and it's like, can we actually do this? Are we actually able to become this person? Are we able to actually do the things that we want to do? And it kind of feels like things are closing in, right? And I feel that when it gets to that point, and maybe even before, when we notice how the thoughts that we're thinking and what we're saying to ourselves, it is really important that when we see something that is not in alignment with our goal, that has nothing to do with our dreams, or is literally the opposite of what we're trying to do, that we pause and we look and identify whatever that is, and we ask ourselves, where's the lie? Asking ourselves, where is the lie, is so powerful because it helps us identify really what are our limitations. I will give you a personal example. So growing up, I was sick a lot, and because I was really sick as a kid and as a teenager, I became known as like Bubble Girl. My family would totally make fun of me. They'd be like, oh, Bubble Girl. Like, I just had to do things differently to stay safe because of the health issues that I had. It was crazy. But out of that, as I grew and really wanted to start experiencing life, I was very scared too. And I was scared too because when I was younger, a lot of if I would have an allergic reaction to something, it was really intense. At that time, it would be like, oh, look, you have a couple of hives. She's going into anaphylactic shock. Like, It went from very small, I'm like, maybe we can take care of this, to call an ambulance or go to the emergency room. Because I lived that, because of my experience, I kind of got stuck there and scared. And so when I was in my mid-20s, I decided that I really wanted to live life. I just hit this point where I was like, if this is all that life has to offer, then I am gonna go out with a bang, because I just want to experience the most that life has to offer. And I wanted to live. I was tired of being trapped in a box. So I decided to really step out of that box little by little. And so my first international trip was down to Mexico, and I was terrified. And when I say terrified, I mean, I was freaked out. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what I'm gonna do. I hope I don't die. Truly, truly, I hope I don't die. And not die because it's Mexico and it's scary, and like, you know how people are there when you travel, they tend to like come up with all sorts of scenarios. I didn't want to die because I didn't have any food to eat. I didn't want to die because I accidentally came across something that I was allergic to and went into anaphylactic shock and just like, whoop, that's it, you know? So because my past experiences had been that, but I also had this desire, this need to live life, right? And so leading up to my trip, I started saying affirmations, and I started saying, well, like, here's what I know to be true. Instead of focusing on all of the horrible things that could go wrong, now I was smart. I definitely took in precautions. I set up precautions. I didn't take them in. I placed contingencies. However, at the same time, instead of focusing on everything that could go wrong, I decided to focus on what could go right. So here's what I knew. Mexico was only a 3-hour plane ride from my hometown. That where I was going was only 30 minutes from an airport. So if I needed to come back home, doctors in Mexico could get me stable and I could come back home. The truth was actually that Mexico has similar food as the United States, which meant that regardless of my diet and how restrictive it was, I would be able to find something to eat. Even if it was just rice and chicken, I could just find rice and chicken and eat that. The truth was that I didn't have to do too much. I didn't have to go exploring. I didn't have to go hiking. I didn't have to do a ton of stuff. I could just do what I was comfortable with. That was the truth. And the point of me telling myself those small truths was to combat all the lies that were flooding into my mind, right? And so those were the things that I had to deal with. Then I had to deal with external sources as well. There were people that were like, you're not gonna travel. You're a bubble girl. You can't do that. Literally, you can't do that. Then there were people that were like, well, what happens if you get down there and there's an emergency? What are you gonna do? You don't speak Spanish. That is valid. I don't know. Then there were people that told me, you know, all the crazy, scary things that happen down in Mexico, and they're like, you just don't need to go. You'll die. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And again, I had to look at this and say, where's the lie? And at the time, I didn't put it into those words, but that's what I did. And the truth was, yeah, it's Mexico. Each country has its own problems, but it's not likely I'm going to get mixed up in anything crazy or chaotic. I wasn't at the border. I was arriving at the airport. I had transportation directly from the airport to my hotel. My hotel was on a resort. It was beautiful. And not only that, but they have high levels of security. So I really felt safe. As far as me being a bubble girl, this is a risk that I'm willing to take. I want to live life, and I was willing to take that risk. And then as far as like, what if something happens? What am I gonna do? I don't speak Spanish. That one I didn't know. That was legit. So I went through and I had a friend that spoke Spanish. I typed it up and I laminated it, and it was a card, and it said, I have allergies, and these are the big ones that will cause harm. And I had it for food and I had it for medicine. And that was like, I was like, well, if anything happens, I live life. And I went to Mexico and ta-da, I'm still here. Nothing happened. And it was amazing. It was incredible. The point of me telling you that story is because I think that it is so important that as we go through life and as we move to accomplish our goals and turn our dreams into reality, that we acknowledge the things that have happened to us in the past, but that the story we tell ourselves about that gets stopped, right? As we move forward, regardless of what happened in the past, let's look at that and see where's the lie. Because once we do that, that no longer creates our reality. We get to choose which direction our reality goes, right? So we get to choose, are we gonna stay at home and just be bubble girl? Or was I gonna move forward and go to Mexico and experience life, right? And so when it comes to accomplishing our goals and moving forward and breaking out of those limiting beliefs, I think that there are like 5 things that we really have to do mentally to make that happen. The first one is identify the story that we're currently telling ourselves about a certain situation. That's important because once we know the story, we can decide if we agree or if we disagree. And if we disagree, it's likely because it's not getting us closer to our goals and because there's some type of lie within that story. Which brings me to number 2. We need to identify what that lie is. Once we know what that lie is, we are able to counteract it with the truth. And the truth is such a beautiful thing. Oh, not only is it beautiful, but it is so powerful because the truth, it squashes fear. It helps build our courage. It helps take us to the next level. Like, the truth, it's incredible. Once we've identified what the truth is, for me, the next big step is to follow that up with 3 to 5 things that affirm the truth. Once you have those 3 to 5 things, it's important to turn them into affirmations and to tell them to yourself over and over, because for a long time we've been telling ourselves this lie and we've been putting limitations on ourselves, and now we have to change that. And the best way to do that is with affirmations. What is the actual truth? And having those affirmations support the truth. And then I think as an added bonus, this to me just, it lights me on fire, and I think it's something that is so powerful. The final thing is to take a moment and to really delve into and see the truth and see like our goals, our dreams, whatever it is that we're working on, and identify what God says about it. Because truly, like, if God is for you, who can be against you? And whoever's against you, it just sucks to be them. Why? Because if God created us each for a purpose, and I mean, he rules the universe. Like, that's so legit. He rules the universe. So if he rules the universe and he's called us for a purpose, whatever lie has been told to us doesn't matter. Whatever limiting belief someone else has doesn't matter. Whatever anybody wants to say to us about anything doesn't matter, because we're walking in our purpose. We're walking and moving toward the things that God's put on our heart to do. So it's going to happen. He put it there. It has to happen, right? So if that is the truth, if that's the truth, when I have the truth that I've discovered, I've identified, and I have my affirmations, and then I say, and on top of that, this is what God's going to do, boom, I'm telling you guys, it's a wrap. And I think that's part of the reason that I've been able to travel the world and do the things that I've done, because literally, if God is for me, who can be against me? Including myself. I can't be against myself. My thoughts can't go against that, because I'm saying this is the truth. This is what God has told me and said to me. It's a wrap, you guys. It's totally a wrap. So for another quick example with the steps, so you all can see, The story that I used to tell myself was that I was ugly and nobody likes me or wants me. That was a lie. The lie is pretty much all of that I was ugly, that nobody wants me, nobody wants to be friends with me. It was a very dark time in my life. The truth is that I am beautiful, and I'm beautiful inside and out. And the truth is that there are so many people that love me and cherish me and value me. The affirmations that I created around this were that I am beautiful, I am loved, I am valued, and I'm cherished. And I would say those to myself over and over and over and over again. And then what God had to say about it was that before he formed me in the womb, he knew me, and that before I was born, he set me apart, and that he appointed me as a prophet to the nations. And that's from Jeremiah 1:5. And I remember reading that for the first time, and it really spoke to me. And it spoke to me so much because it was like, regardless of what's going on in school, regardless of what's going on with family, what's going on with like friends, that God wanted me before I even had an idea of what was going on in the world, before my parents had an idea of even having me. God wanted me, and he formed me, because I could have been a boy. I could have been a completely different person. Like, when you really think about how babies come to be, I could have been totally different, but God wanted me. And that was just so, like I said, so empowering. It's so powerful and incredible. Anyway, it's legit. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you found it very helpful. I pray that as you move forward, going after your dreams and accomplishing your goals, that whenever you feel that resistance and there's this clash, and or you feel doubt or insecure, that you take a moment, you pause, and you ask yourself the question, where is the lie? That you go through these steps and you discover the truth, and you discover what God has to say about it, and that you walk in that, and that you live your life to the fullest, and you experience all that it has to offer, and that you embrace it. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Au revoir.